Oh, hi there. I'm going to do my best to sort of tiptoe around the subject and kind of explain things. Now, this isn't exactly what I wanted my YouTube channel to be about. Obviously, if you've been following the kind of stuff I talk about, this isn't usually the kind of thing I enjoy talking about. It's relevant to my lifestyle because of various factors, although, it's got nothing to do with me. One thing I do want to point out is I happen to be wearing beige pants, so if some douchebag, wants to video edit, it'd be quite easy for them to do. If you do that, dick move. Dick move. Anyway, I prefer they didn't, but well. Anyway, actually, there's a couple topics and I'm gonna sort of discuss them. One of them is the involuntary celibate issue for a lot of young men, well, and older as well. And I have explained in videos of before that it happens to women too, quite often, for various factors, obviously different reasons, but yeah, we live in a society where men can be unfairly treated and nobody cares. I mean, that can happen to just about anyone, and it's never really right, but it's just how it works, because we live in a mean world still, and it's really sad that things have to be that way. But as far as being an involuntary celibate goes, that's not the same as incel. Involuntary is a little bit, you don't have a choice. It's not always because of how someone looks or acts or behaves. In fact, it may not have anything to do with them directly at all. It may just be the social circle around them, and they may be what the problem is in some cases of involuntary celibacy. And unfortunately, sometimes through various factors, people can be put somewhere. They can be put in their place, and the only version of that person that gets told is the one that the crowd around that person wants to tell. And if they don't want to say nice things for whatever reason, and I'll get into some of the reasons that aren't the involuntary celibate's fault in a few minutes. What I did want to say was there is a difference between involuntary celibacy and incel. Because incel means a whole bunch of different things to different people, okay? Especially if you're a very stupid person. I watched some of the CBC, Diana Swain, I think she made 2 videos that were uploaded to YouTube. One of them was 40 minutes long. Oh, and it was so cringeworthy. I mean, it was painful to watch, and like the way she talks about it, and I saw one of her guests who, obviously looked like a lesbian of some sort, and the other guy, looked like a douchebag with greasy hair and a beard. Worse than mine, okay? Mine's not that bad. And he was supposed to be an expert on the subject, whatever, or, something like that. I forget his name. It was only like a 5-minute video. I'm sure she's done more, but, I couldn't be bothered. Women like her, it's about power. They like involuntary celibates because essentially it's fresh meat. They like guys that don't get the chicks. I mean, you wouldn't know that on the internet, because on the internet people say, well, if you can't get a chick, then that means there's something wrong with you and you're ugly, and that's just the way it is. But no, they look at you like you're fresh meat sometimes. And that's not a pleasant thing at all. Because you're devalued as a human being, and being of the male sex, it to some people anyway, they'll want to take it from a hypocritical standpoint, that I'm being a hypocrite by saying, as a male I'm judging, and I'm being judged and I don't like it. But it's like not the same thing at all. Like, I mean, all the bastards and assholes, I'm talking about men that have been out there throughout the course of history, nothing to do with me. Absolutely nothing. But, society's shifted, so it's not quite the same thing anymore. So yeah, what Diana Swain likes to do is say incels are blah 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 this and blah 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 that, and they're dangerous, and they gotta be imprisoned before they do anything, and all that kind of mentality. Essentially, if you kind of get the message of what she's saying, but to be honest, I think she's sexually attracted to involuntary celibates. As I said, the fresh meat aspect, and they create a certain set of circumstances, and they're able to put someone somewhere, and then I suppose if they pass their tests or something like that, then eventually they bring them out into the community as whomever they figure that they should be, because they're all-knowing and so much smarter. Because, the thing about being an involuntary celibate is you can just go around and around in circles in your head and not really accomplish anything. I don't think I ever thought that way, but, as I said, and I was going to get back to this, what the crowd around a person thinks and says, may not be indicative of that person at all, and they may be well cognizant of that fact, but they're using it for their own agenda. And when I say that, I mean, like, sometimes chicks can say shitty things about guys that they actually like because, A, they want to scare off other women, B, it's all about dominance. They feel intellectually superior when they do that. They get to go about living their normal lives when they do that. And, the friend-zoned, so to speak, male is, imprisoned in his mind. And, for different involuntary celibates, it's a different set of circumstances. For me, I've got a sore throat, so it's very difficult for me to leave my household for very long. That's just the way it is. I haven't been able to work for a year because my throat hurts so much because of psychiatric medicine I had to take. Bastards. Anyway, yeah, so, I'm not what they'd call, I don't know, a trophy boyfriend or something like that. I have to be very, very careful about the words I use because, there's just some words that women really want to hear out of a mouth like mine. And, I'm not ready for that type of commitment. So, yeah, I gotta be careful about saying those sort of words. But, yeah, getting back to women saying shitty things about guys that they actually like, it's kind of a weird thing. It's like the first example I remember ever hearing about that was a movie with David Duchovny in it, actually. It was Evolution. Yeah, he was in a court, and like the prosecutor, the red-haired woman, I forget her name. She's been on a bunch of movies. She was in one of the Jurassic Parks as well. Not important. Was it Julianne Moore? Well, I don't remember. But anyway, it was pointed out that, she was really, saying nasty things about him in court because she actually fancied him. That was the first example I'd ever heard of that. And then, that movie came out many, many years ago. Yeah, so, it's, it's not fair. It's a bunch of bullshit. But, you always get assholes who, don't have to deal with any real problems in their lives going, life's not fair. Oh, yeah, we'll make life not fair for you later, asshole. Oh, you want to get invited to a party? Well, it's not happening. Any way I can inconvenience you, I will. anyway, there's the second part of this conversation that I wanted to talk about, and again, I have to be very careful about the words I choose because it's just, it's an iffy subject, really. I mean, you may notice I'm wearing a Lady Gaga t-shirt. She has not really gotten up to too much lately. Nothing significant anyway. I think she's a burning star at this point. I know she was, in Vegas, or she was supposed to stay there for a number of years or something like that. And I did a quick Google search before I started making this video, see what she was up to, and they said, oh, she just arrived in New York, or she's with her boyfriend in New York or something like that. And like, they showed pictures and you go, you have no idea how old those pictures are. They could have been pictures from a year ago. That's the thing about that particular character, Stephanie Germanotta, is you don't entirely know when something's new, or it's because there's constantly a camera on her. I remember, her supposed to be, sitting somewhere in LA, and, the street was empty, and, it was supposed to be a private moment for herself, but I guess she doesn't have those, so obviously it was fake. And you can't help but feel a little bit bad. I mean, it's, what the mob wants, what the crowd wants out of a person, and sometimes their rights come, very last in regards to what they figure they should be getting in life. And the thing is, I'm trying to think of a metaphor to describe it. And the best one I can think of is actually a really, really, awkward one for me, just because of circumstances. It's kind of like, that Futurama episode. I forget which one it was. It might have been The Scary Door, that's right. Where, the guy is sitting on the airplane, and then all these random circumstances happen, like Ava Braun is actually a giant fly, and he's Hitler, and all this sort of stuff. And, and sometimes that can happen to people where you just come to a realization that, people may have been saying shitty things about you just based on circumstantial things that, weren't really relevant to you, but they decided to make it an issue because they didn't like other things about you. So anyway, here goes. Real awkward thing to talk about, but I've compared Stephanie Germanotta, Lady Gaga, and also older women and things like that, to the Maleficent character from the Disney movies. I think it was made in the 50s or something like that. It was actually quite a good cartoon, essentially a cartoon. Woman warlord, has all this power, all these subjects, and the prince is just trying to go about his business, and he ends up becoming prisoner to this warlord woman, and then put in a cell, essentially, kind of like an involuntary celibate, actually. It's just awkward because it shouldn't be, they should just digitally edit that part, but the prince was actually smitten by a chick that was 16 years old, so that's a bit of a stretch in today's world. Not fair at all. But 20 years old, that should be, that should be reasonable, I would think. It's just awkward for me because I'm all about wearing the hockey jerseys and things like that. I'll wear shirts like this. I'm actually not a bad looking guy, and I live right across from high school. I didn't think about any of that. That just wasn't part of my process when I was making YouTube videos and things like that. Like, it was, whatever was going on over there was none of my business, and that's the way I thought of it. So this is why this is very difficult to talk about. However, know, obviously, when I was pursuing women, when I was physically able to, I was doing it elsewhere. I know that's not what the women who've been talking trash about me want to hear, because they want to hear that, you know, I'm the pathetic bad boy or something like that, and, you know, right for getting my ass kicked, which I'm not, you know, particularly enthusiastic about, I'd have to say. I'm gonna be completely honest with you there. Yeah, anyway, getting back to the other character, the Maleficent character, the warlord witch character, Lady Gaga. It's not an insult to say that that's exactly what she is, because it's the truth. The thing is, that comes with its own set of problems. Lady Gaga has no problem getting a guy in bed at any time. In fact, she has a problem keeping him away, because there's just so many creepy, like, slimy people that are attracted to her. And I've said before, like, it's really gross. You don't even want to think about how many men she's been with, because that would just, you know, induce a case of vomiting from the mouth of most men, so they try not to think about it. But there are some men that aren't bothered by that. I'm not one of them, but there are other men that aren't. I don't know any of them. The thing is, they can be considered what I call IBC, involuntary birth control. And like I said, this is a very awkward conversation for me to have, because, you know, it's like, you know, I'm obviously not ready for that type of commitment, and I just don't want to say those words, alright? Like, I'm trying to avoid it at this point. But women like Lady Gaga and many other women are in a social position where they don't have a choice as to when and where they can procreate. Because for people like Lady Gaga, they want them to make more money, they want their careers to be successful, they got them tied up doing too many different things. You know, they're always pushing and pulling them in different directions. Lady Gaga would be, you know, just a rotation of men that are intensely interested in, you know, it's essentially bullying right in front of everyone's eyes. And, you know, there have been times where Lady Gaga has presented herself as being very frail, very tired, very worn out. And those are very fair assessments, and that's not very nice. But also, you know, she has lashed out. That has happened every now and then, and you can see that in some of her artistic works, which is, you know, not fair, but it's one of those things that happen for, you know, a chain of complicated but stupid reasons. Anyway, so my point about bringing up IBCs is, their problem is different, but different in a different sort of way to an involuntary celibate. Involuntary celibate usually applies to men these days, and it means they can't even be near a woman. Like, it's like they got some sort of repellent on them, and it may not have anything to do with them. It may be just what's said about them by others, as I explained earlier in this video. And you get the warlord woman who knows too many guys that like her and push her and prod her in different directions. She's not able to get what she wants out of life. And, you know, they look at individuals such as myself who are involuntary celibates, and, you know, for different reasons, they're not getting exactly what they, you know, want out of life. And ideally, we'd live in a world where that didn't happen, but, you know, there are so many assholes out there. And it's, you know, like, what the fuck? Do we have to live in this kind of world where people are like that? I don't know, evidently we do. Really wish it didn't have to be that way, but it just appears to be that way. So, you know, I have made videos where, because I think Kesha is in the same boat, and to a lesser extent Miley Cyrus. I mean, Miley Cyrus, you know, she's probably just as dirty as Lady Gaga, but she seems to have her claws sunk into Liam Hemsworth quite well, actually. More like tentacles or something with sharp barbs on it anyway. And Liam Hemsworth obviously is the brother of Chris Hemsworth, who played Thor, so, you know, he's obviously a very powerful character. And, you know, thank you for taking one for the team there, Liam. I certainly wouldn't want to be, you know, trapped in an apartment with Miley Cyrus, I gotta say that. This is where I gotta be careful about the words I use, because there are worse things to be trapped in an apartment with. And I mean, you wouldn't want to be trapped in an apartment with you know, a woman who's well-traveled, is hideous, and is worth nothing. That would also be bad, and you don't actually like them. Those would be a combination of things you wouldn't want. So I just, you know, I gotta be careful how I word this. It's just, you know, I always do it like, I think it before I say it, and, you know, I don't write it down. That's how I operate when I'm making my videos. And it's like, that's, you know, hypothetical, scary stuff that, like, how did I even get into this train of thought in the first place? Like, how did all this stuff happen? As I said, it's like a Futurama reference where it's like, well, I'm just casually sitting on the plane, and then all of a sudden all this, like, random weird stuff starts happening. Eva Braun's a fly, and, you know, the other things, and it's just like, how did I even get in this situation? Like, how does that even happen? Anyway, well, I feel bad for the IBCs. The thing is, you know, they have a tendency to, when they're got their set on a male, they have a tendency to not be dissuaded. Like, I've heard the strangest arguments on the internet, and, you know, it's just like, this is insane. Like, there's this crazy woman out there, and, like, how am I supposed to dodge her, and that sort of thing. And, you know, I don't got a massive ego or anything like that. I don't think Lady Gaga's even noticed me. At least I definitely hope not, anyway. But there are other women of lower gentry that will have and may have adopted some of her ideological beliefs, and that, you know, does not help me at all in my situation. As I said earlier, my sore throat is the primary reason why I'm trapped at home. That is going to recover, this I'm sure of, eventually anyway. I hope so. And then I'll be free to go outside, and I'll be more difficult to contain. I won't feel as though I'm in prison or something. My camera does have Wi-Fi, but that's just paranoia. I wasn't even done making my video yet. I'm not even talking very loud. Actually, you know, funny thing is, this is the first time I've had the window open while I've been making a video in the hockey room. You know, I don't even have next door neighbors, so, like, it's an empty building. They're gonna smash them all down and build townhouses. So the window should be open, because, you know, it's summer. And I don't have central air conditioning, so it gets very, very hot in this house, and in particular this washroom. Anyway, all side subjects. I mean, IBCs, the men out there, you have to be concerned about them, because they just have a different perception and different biases based on their own position. And, you know, you feel bad for them, and, you know, ideally you'd say, if there's a male that's willing, they should be able to go with them if they want to. And if they don't, then, you know, that's just the thing. But there shouldn't be a circle around them saying, there's no guys interested, when they're really interested and they're arguing amongst themselves, which is, you know, the polar opposite of what a involuntary celibate, speaking from a male perspective, is, where there's women around a male and they're saying nobody wants that male. And typically they, say things like, oh, he's ugly, he's got a nasty personality, he's a creep, or whatever, right? And it's like, that isn't fair. It doesn't make any sense. And it's not always right. I mean, sometimes there are a lot of assholes out there, and genuinely, if any woman did get to know him, they wouldn't like him. That's fair enough, but that's not the case all the time. A lot of corruption in the world, and unfortunately, one person, they can only train themselves physically and mentally so well, and you can do everything right and you can still lose, unfortunately. So you gotta keep that in mind. And hopefully, I should have heeded this advice many years ago, but just keep your head down, keep working, and fly under the radar, and everything will be fine. I didn't do that because, well, I'm Irish. We just don't do it that way. Yeah, but this is a very, very complicated subject. It's, very difficult to talk about because, I don't have, like, as an involuntary celibate, it's not just physical contact with women that I have issues having. It's having normal conversation with just about anybody. Like, I have very few friends that I can talk to about anything. And you might go, well, there's so many places you can go to, health groups and things like that. And I go, no, I don't want any of that. And they don't want to talk about the kind of stuff I want to talk about anyway. They want to talk about mind-numbingly stupid stuff. And, like, it's no creativity. There's just no creativity, And that is a troublesome aspect about society. Of course, creativity can lead to crazy circumstances. Hence why I brought up Lady Gaga. I do like her as a person. I think she's done everything the best to her abilities. But she's very scary and probably, well, yes, very, very dirty. If there's a male that she wants to go with that's into that kind of stuff, that's her business. However, that's going to be somebody else. And that also goes for the lower gentry of women who have the same thought process as her. If they're, to a lesser extent dirty, lesser extent, we'll say creative in that aspect. No, I'm not ready for that type of commitment, especially with weird women I don't know anything about. Gotta be real careful because women have the capability of, gathering, rallying people up much easier today than men do in certain circumstances. And I don't mean like to directly do something right then and there, but I mean even just to have open dialogue or, a big community of people talking about things. It's just, we live in a world today where it's a lot easier for women to do that and to network. And that's not to say that they like each other. In fact, they probably hate each other. And it's, it's a different set of problems for different people, that's all. So, anyway, to summarize this video, Lady Gaga is an IBC, along with many other famous, important, rich women. And involuntary celibacy is not the same thing as incel. They're not the same. And I've made video, describing there is misogyny, but there's misandry. There's cuckolding, but there's cuckweening. And those are words I don't like. I think, nobody would really like those words, and, a lot of people are plain ignorant of the opposite of the word that it is that they accuse the other person of. And, like cuckolding is a word you can't avoid if, for example, if you look at internet pornography. I only do that as an involuntary celibate because I don't have a choice. I actually don't like internet pornography. But then I don't even really search it anymore. I just go to a website and see what's there, really. And most of the time it's just like terrible. And you don't hear cocooning very often. And when you do, it's when the male is being particularly aggressive, and it's just like, that's not nice, don't do that. And, you know, obviously it's not nice the other way too. And, you know, misogyny is not right, and misandry is not right. And people should be cognizant of all four of those words, and not just go misogynist, bigot, blah 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 blah, and be ignorant of the bad things that they are. That's called hypocrisy. Anyway, that was to sum things up. This is just a shout out saying I hope things work out for Stephanie, but you know, obviously that's, as I said in a video before, that's a, you know, a party or a boat that I'm not getting on. So anyway, this is this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you guys later, or people later, or whoever's watching. I don't know. Anyway, see ya.